a small village on the edge of Salisbury Plain, which used to be the main A303 route, used to come through here up until 1975. Today it's very quiet. But it wasn't always this way. In fact, today it would be absolute murder for anyone living here if you had lorries, buses, cars coming through here every day. But what happened to the old road? What does it look like now? And it's that road that we're going to go and look at. It's Wylye to Stockton Wood. Well, as I just said, here's the village of Wylye and the old road that was the 303 heading through. You can make out the old white lines are still in evidence. And there are some picturesque houses here. And this is what we've come to view. So let's carry on along this road, go and explore what was the old A303. I'm going to leave the village now. For those of you with a keen eye, you can see that the road is actually angling its way to the left, where it would have originally approached the bridge which went over the railway line. Well, I'm currently stood on what would have been the old Stockton junction with the A303 at Wylye. If you look, there's Wylye. Now, originally the old road would have gone up an embankment here, and it would have gone up through the trees, and then it would have met a dogleg railway bridge, which is on the left. Well, that's the new bridge. The old road is up in the trees there. Well, we've crossed what was the original railway line, which was on a dogleg bridge, as I've just mentioned, and I'm now on the old route of the A303. It became abandoned in 1975 when the Wylye bypass opened. And this is looking west. You can just make out where the white lines might have been. Those of you who remember this bridge will remember it as being an absolute notorious, horrible, nasty place. I can remember it even in my short life. I'll just turn the camera around and you can see where the old bridge ended. I think pre-1975 I wouldn't want to be stood here. You can imagine some of the big lorries that were about in those days coming round that dogleg bridge and then making their attempts up the hill. But there we are, that's all that's left. The bridge was demolished in 1976 and the road is now just a track. Let's go up the road and just have a quick look at some more of it. The old road crossed the railway bridge and then it continued its route west, and here's the first bend, and there it is looking up the hill now towards the wood. Well, you just imagine being 1975, being stuck behind a lorry going up this hill. You just couldn't do it nowadays. Near the traffic of the new 303. Let's bring you round. Well, there's the bridge, the new bridge, with the new A303 Wylye bypass. And come from the west towards Wylye and approaching the bend, which then took you over the railway bridge. Oh, I found some evidence of white lines, look. That gives its former use away. But it's quite a steep hill. As I said earlier, imagine being stuck behind something coming up here. I can remember this road, I know what it was like. can remember coming down here in one of those old Bedford Dormobile vans. I can remember the sign saying reduce speed now. Well, if you hadn't reduced speed by the time you got to the bottom, you'd have ended up over the embankment and in the big pond that's down the bottom there. And there is an old chair that the cat's eye sat in. Well, I'm nearly at the summit now. That's a long old walk up this hill. But like I've said, you can still make out what this road's former use was. Squares marked where the cat's eyes were. They've obviously been dug out to be reused. Well, I'm at the top of the hill now and I'm looking back down towards Wylye. There's Wylye in the distance. At the very summit, the road then bared slightly to the left and went through a wooded part before the peak of the hill suddenly turned it back to the right again. So that's where we're going to go. Well, the traffic on the new A303 is very much evident now, but I'm still carrying on the old route, the A303 from Wylye. And this is looking back to Wylye, and we're at the top now, as I've said earlier, and there's a very interesting piece of road that I want to show you. Now, if you look, you can see the old road is going straight ahead. But to the left, well, if you didn't know, you think that that was a temporary road put in. And it is a temporary road that was put in. In fact, during the construction of the Wylye bypass back in the early to mid 1970s, it became necessary for this small diversionary part to be put in because the old road needed to be buried. And the old road, as I remember it, used to carry on slightly and then it would be sharp left and then up the hill. You'll get a better shot of the other end of that road in a minute. Well, as I just said, the original road would have carried on through there. It's now buried under the trees. But if you look, you can get a clearer shot now of that temporary piece of road that was put in to take traffic along while the new was being constructed. And there it is, it comes out at the end, and you can make out that the old road, as I said, has been buried. So you should get a good look at the original course. And you can see what I mean about it being quite a sharp left-hand bend as it carried on up the hill to where it rejoins itself today. And this is that small temporary piece of road. And for those of you that might remember it, you wouldn't have remembered these trees. And look how big they've got since 1975. Well, I'm now stood at the far end now, looking back to Wylye on the old road. The old road would, like I said, continued under the trees. There's that temporary piece that was put in. And it comes out at the end there. So as I've said, you can get a good idea about how quite sharp that bend would have been coming down the hill. And this is a steep hill, remember. But we'll continue a bit further on up. Now we've got another little hill to go up now. And I can remember as a kid, there would be many lorries tipped over in the bushes here. And remember, we're talking pre-1975 here. So how on earth would this road cope today? Well, I'm at the top nearly. As I said, you can hear the cars on the new road now. In fact, it's only to my right. You can still make out some old white lines there, look. The patches of tar that are coming off where it had been resurfaced over its final years. Looking back down the hill. That is a very steep hill. Well, we've come through the wood now and we're still heading west on the old road. The new road is now running parallel to my right and we're about to rejoin that. Well, in the distance there's the new A303 bypass heading east on its way to London. I'm actually stood on the old route of the A303 at the top end of Wylye. Well, here's where the old meets the new. Or should I say where it rejoins itself. I'm right at the top now. And there's a little track now which links the farmer's track. Well, there's the new A303 through there. Make out that car going through. So now, I've got to walk back down the hill, back to Wylye, and then go home for you to see this. I hope you've enjoyed watching Take the Old Road. I'm sure there'll be more films to follow.